Hello and welcome back to the Eastman Sport Report. I am joined again by my wonderful co-host, Stephen Eastman.
Hello there, Max.
So today, this week, we're not going to have Niners news to talk about. I don't know if any Niners news to talk about at all, actually.
We'll probably talk about the Niners when they come to the draft, and we'll talk about their draft, and we'll have a draft weekend. We'll talk about the draft and what they did, because they always do trades. That's always the fun part. And we actually have a first-round pick this year, so we'll have that, but that's about a month away, and the Kings are in a playoff race, so a lot of Kings news to talk about.
So the Kings went, as of recording this, 2-2 through the week, losing to the Knicks, beating the Grizzlies in overtime, and creaming the Toronto Raptors.
And then you have the Wizards game.
We'll get back to that. But right now, what was announced earlier this morning was Nemanja Bjelica.
Oh, sorry, you got to say that right. Nemanja Bjelica.
I sound weird if I say it.
Okay, well.
Nemanja. It doesn't.
I know, but I've heard it so many times say, but I think it's got to say Nemanja.
Okay. Well, he retired today, and I want to go over him for a little bit. He has a famous quote that I don't know if I can really say, but as Kings fans, we should all know it. He played 4 years for the Kings, going from 2018 all the way to 2021. In that time, he averaged 10.1 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 2.3 assists in 175 games. I always remembered him as the big guy who could hit shots. He wasn't the rebounder and playmaker that Sabonis is. He doesn't run at people like JaVale McGee does, but he was the big man that could stand underneath the boards and then also go out and drain the threes when you need them.
The interesting thing is, if you've ever heard what he did in Europe, he was more like a I don't know if Luke is the right term, but he was more of a playmaker in Europe, and he never became that in the NBA. Now, I don't know if that was opportunity, and there's other people in the Kings and other teams that he played with.
Maybe the Kings were just bad,
at that time. But no, he was. It was he was good. He was good. I don't know if he was great, but he was a very good player. And loved Nemanja out there, being on the team. He could definitely drain the three. That's where he was at. I think of Sasha Vencikov is, hopefully I think he can be better than Nemanja is.
They were both EuroLeague MVPs.
Yeah. Yeah, which you forget about that, Nemanja Bjelica being actually a EuroLeague MVP. So sad to see him retire, but happy for him. He had a good long career.
So going back, the Knicks game, we lost 98-91.
Which that game was... Who did we play before then? But we
played the Lakers and the Bucks. Winning both games, which is a big stretch for us. Winning against two good teams.
Well, funny thing, we played better against the good teams. But I thought the Knicks game was really interesting because the vibe coming out of that game it was very physical. It was a very physical game, and that was like, hey, this is good for the Kings to get us into the playoff mode. Playoff mode is a lot about physical basketball. The Knicks. When you look at a score 98-91, that sure feels like a 1990s basketball game, NBA basketball game. The game was in the 90s, so it felt like that. It was physical like that. I thought it was really good for the Kings, and I thought it would be kind of harden them up and kind of get them ready. And then the Wizard game happened, but I'm disappointed about that.
We'll get back to that.
But the Knicks game I thought was good.
I was really impressed with the defense in that game because, obviously, like you said, the 90s basketball, physical, tough, pushing around each other. We held. The only reason we lost that game is because of Jalen Brunson.
He was pretty good.
Yeah, he's special.
Now, what didn't help, then the 2-minute report came out of that game, and there was an error in the 2-minute report. It was about 50-some seconds to go. I think about 53, 54 seconds left in the game. Sabonis gets knocked in the face, which I've heard a lot of people have drinking games about that. Like every time Sabonis gets knocked in the face, because he just probably happens like every single game, probably every single quarter he's out there, gets knocked in the face. But he gets knocked in the face. And because of that, he traveled, and the Kings were down 94-91. If he gets free throws from that, it could be 94-93. Very different game, ending to that game if he would have got that foul. So, but here we're the Sacramento Kings. We don't get a lot of love from the officials.
Looking at some of the stats from the Knicks players, we held every single one of them to under 20 points: 15, 12, 9, 2, 7, except for Jalen Brunson, which again we said he did really well. He had 42 points.
He's pretty good. I think
admittedly, we should not have gone into overtime in that game.
I have some interesting stats about the Memphis game. Totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
The Memphis game, here's my notes. Okay, so the notes. This is, let's see, the Memphis Grizzlies at the time, what was their record? Their record was, what is that?
Going into the next game,
23 and 46.
looking at it.
So they've played, what is that, if I can do my math really quick, that is like 69 games.
Mm-hmm.
That was their 42nd starting lineup. Like, they have gone through so many players this year, and if you look at their roster, they have 20 people listed, which you're technically only supposed to have 15 in the two-way, so that's 18. So I don't even know how they have 20 or 21 players on their roster. I think they have a whole bunch of exclusions and stuff like that because of people being injured. But they only had 8 players suited up. And those 8 players played really hard for Memphis.
It was an electric game. It was so fun to watch. I was stressing about it because we're Kings fans. We always stress about stuff. Mm-hmm. But it was such a good game. It shouldn't have been a good game.
Well, the sad part, there was a sad part about that game, too. That was the game that Herter got injured less than 2 minutes into the game. Weird-looking injury. Everybody thought it was a wrist because he was holding his wrist walking off the court. And then we find out later he has a dislocated shoulder, and he was probably holding his wrist because he was holding his arm in place at the time. So that's sad news. Very, very sad news for Herter, and sad news on the fact that there has been no official timeline put out. But hearing some so-called medical experts for sports medicine come in recently have come out in the last couple of days and saying that this type of injury, dislocated shoulder and a labrum tear, usually takes 2-3 weeks is normal. If it's worse, it could require surgery, and of course, then he'd be out for the season. But it's looking more like at least 3 to 4 weeks. It's kind of a guess, and then again, nothing official from the Kings as of recording time here on a Saturday afternoon. But very, very sad news. That came out of the Memphis game. Very, very sad. But pick it back up. The rest of the game was awesome. It was very back and forth.
Had the best alley-oop dunk of the season. Malik Monk was putting on a dunk contest himself.
Oh yeah. It was so many dunks in that game. That was a crazy sequence where Keon Ellis had a block in the backcourt or on the defensive side. It gets thrown out. I forget, maybe it was Sponis got the ball after he blocked it. It got thrown out to Fox, and Fox alley-ooped up to Monk. Oh, that was beautiful basketball. And the arena looked like it was pumping that night. I mean, because that was the game.
And then next possession, Memphis misses the shot. They go out, and Fox goes up for 3. You could just feel the energy from the arena wanting to erupt, and the roof would have come down if he made that.
I know. Yeah, it was very, very, very electric, and it was just like the Kings were so close to just putting it away in regulation, but Memphis just would not go away. But then Malik Monk took over in the fourth period, or into the fourth, and mostly took over in overtime. He scored it was 10 points in overtime that game, and thank you, Lord, that we have Malik Monk. Maybe we'll talk about it in the offseason about we had better find a way to re-sign Malik Monk. He is so important to this team. He is a godsend. Quick side note. If you were to say best free agent signings by the Sacramento Kings, now I'm just saying Sacramento Kings, Vlade Divac is usually number 1. I think Malik Monk is coming in very strong at a number 2. But maybe another day we'll go over that in the offseason. But he's definitely a great pickup by the Kings, and we better keep up with him. The thing that I have note about this game, Keon Ellis. Keon Ellis had an amazing game from a defense perspective. He was just all over the place. Was this the game he had 5 blocks?
Yeah, it was the game he had 5 blocks. I think it was either first or second guard to have 5 blocks in a game coming off the bench.
Yeah, which is just crazy. We'll get to my prediction about him later when we review predictions. But with Kevin Herter being out and Keon Ellis being a starter for the foreseeable future, Keon Ellis' defense was amazing, but there's some points where he struggled offensively. There was a time where he got the ball and he kind of fell down and he just kind of threw it away. And you're like, you can't just throw it up in the middle. It got a shot clock violation, so Memphis didn't get a fast break off of it. But then he goes out and he makes up for it on defense. So, but he needs to be in those situations more and play these big minutes because we need him. now. And, it's not just, hey, he's playing better than Kevin Huerter or he brings something different. We need him out there. But there is a few parts in offense that he was like, kind of questionable. But I think he'll get there. He needs the experience.
He, as you say, defense creates offense, as everyone says. So Keon being such a good defender just opens up so many things for the Kings that Huerter couldn't do. He's an amazing 3-point shooter. Like, I couldn't dream of being that good. But being on the defensive end for him is his weak spot. So Keon being able to be such a good defender as he is.
Oh, yeah. And he's only 6'3", but his wingspan, I think, is like 6'8", 6'9", something like that. So crazy long. And even some of the quotes that came from Mike Brown after the game, it might have been that game or the Toronto game, where he says, like, and Mike Brown's been around the NBA a really long time. And he's saying...
Coached LeBron in his rookie year?
Yeah, he coached LeBron. It was not his rookie year. I think it was a couple years later.
Earlier.
But he was in Cleveland. He took LeBron to the finals, so he has been around the NBA a long time. But he was like, I don't know anybody to compare Keon Ellis to, which almost speaks volumes, where he's been in the NBA 20 plus years and he doesn't have anybody to compare him to. Like, that is a unique skill set when you have that much of a uniqueness to you. Good job for Keon for creating that uniqueness and basically forcing him way into the lineup. I mean, good job on you.
So, I don't know how much we can say for the Raptors game besides just...
Well, there's some really good things. Sabonis had a 24th triple-double. I mean, they routed him 123-89. I mean, that was a blowout before halftime.
Oh, can I tell you something?
Sure, go ahead.
Looking at the stats, want to know how long the Raptors had a lead for in the entire game? How much time the Raptors had a lead for?
Did they actually have a lead?
At one point, yes, they did have a lead.
Okay. I'm going to go 10 seconds.
17 seconds. Throughout a 48-minute game, 17 seconds of that, the Raptors had the lead.
And it was probably during the first period.
Yes.
Did they score the first bucket of the game?
No.
Oh, okay. So it'd be 47 minutes. And that would be 43 seconds that the Kings had the lead or tied.
That is absolute demolishing of the Raptors.
And the funny thing is if you look now, love looking at ESPN, and when you get to the game cast, they have something down at the bottom. You scroll to the bottom, which I wish they put at the top because I think it means the most. They have something called the game flow, and the game flow shows over the game. And of course, this is a podcast, so you guys can't see it, but there's lines that show how far the stats going, and you can just see the Kings line just going just goes high, and then so normally the games are going like the lines go back and forth. You see some runs, and this one here, it's like the Toronto Raptors just kind of goes flat for almost the whole second and third period, and the Kings are just shooting up. So complete domination. I thought the Kings were doing awesome and great. This is in Toronto, first game back to back. The Kings got tons of rest. Like most of their starters were right around 30 minutes or less. I thought we were doing great.
Raptors didn't score for about 4 minutes in the third quarter, scoreless. Well, the Kings were just running up the score, obviously.
Yeah, it was 80-54, and they stayed at 54, and the Kings got up to 91. So the Kings didn't really put them on a huge run there, but anyway, yeah.
I don't know what else I can say about that game. It's just a great game. Again, Malik Monk was putting it on. He was having his fun with them. Why isn't Malik Monk in the dunk contest, I just want to say?
Oh, there was sometime during the week. Who did I say? It was Malik Monk and somebody else I wanted to see in the dunk contest. Was it Jalen Brunson?
I don't know.
Was it that game? No, I don't think it was Jalen Brunson.
Well,
anyway, I totally agree. Like, they need to get some more name players like a Malik Monk. Maybe not like the top line players. But
I love Matt McClung. He's such a good dunker, but he's Matt McClung, and he plays in the G League.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I totally agree. Malik Monk should be in the All-Star in the dunk contest. I would love to see him there.
Anyway.
Do you remember the last King that was in the dunk contest?
No. Was it before I was alive?
Yes, it was before you were alive.
Okay, so then I would not know.
Okay. Anyway, it was Gerald Wallace. Do you remember him?
No, not at all.
Well, there you go. Spend some knowledge for you and everybody listening. Gerald Wallace, last Sacramento King, participated in the dunk contest. That was the early 2000s, and He was a rookie or second-year player, awesome athletic player, and it was when the Kings were really, really good. So it was the end of the first round. They just took a good flyer. Anyway, Gerald Ball is fun. Do you want to talk about the bad news? I just want to hit my head against the microphone because I don't even know what to say against the Wizards game. Like I told Max earlier, like we were so excited about doing the second episode here of the Eastman Sports Report. Like we're having so much fun doing this. We're having fun, to actually taking notes during the game and writing stuff down. And then you get to the Wizards game and you're just like,
what do I say?
What? Like if I use colorful metaphors, like this is the part where I would do that, but we're not going to do that in the Eastman Sports Report. But you're like, come on, like that's just horrible effort. That's just like,
how do you let
the worst team in the league? You lost to the stinking worst team in the league.
I want to know. Okay, so I did research on my own about this. There are 4 teams in the league, including the Kings, who have lost to both the Wizards and the Pistons.
Yeah. So there's 3 more.
There are 3 more. Do you want to guess them?
I would love to try to guess. My guess is, and I probably need to pull up the whole league, make things here to look at the thing. I would say the Charlotte Hornets is going to be one of them.
You are correct.
Hey, good. Okay. So I've got one. I'm feeling Atlanta Hawks.
No.
Okay.
This is the fun part.
Utah Jazz.
No.
San Antonio Spurs.
No. Would you like me to just tell you?
No. I'm
For
gonna
the people at home.
We're gonna go for that. Let's see. Let me give me 4 more guesses.
Okay.
Can you give me a hint? Are they like teams that would be in the playoffs, or are they going to be teams that are below 500?
The remaining ones are all below 500.
Okay, except for the Sacramento Kings and the Charlotte Hornets. Where Charlotte Hornets are one of the worst
The Kings are the only one who are in the play-in tournament.
That would be part of this conversation. So then you're looking at, let's say Houston Rockets.
No.
Like, who have I missed that's down there at the bottom? There's probably somebody on the East Coast that I'm probably missing. Brooklyn Nets?
You are correct.
Chicago Bulls?
No. They're in the play-in. They're in the ninth seed.
Brooklyn Nets is one of them. So there's one more team I got to name. I'm looking at it.
I'm staring at it right now. I don't know if I can tell you telepathically.
I don't think that's going to work. Just tell the audience here.
The Blazers.
Oh, yes.
The Kings are the only team above 500 who have lost to... Actually, the only team who are in the playoff race that have lost to the Wizards and the Pistons.
That's frustrating as Kings fans.
Another thing, so you know how the...
And if you think about that, who has lost to both the Detroit and Wizards? We've lost to Charlotte as well. We've lost to Portland. And I think we've beat Boston both times. But you're like, come on,
in the Boston Nets.
So let's say that we've lost to Charlotte and Detroit. And so there's 4 games that we just mentioned, like bottom feeders. If you were the Kings were just to win those 4, like we could name off, there's about 10 to 12 games this year of the Sacramento Kings that are like, what the heck are you doing losing this game? But let's just add those 4. Like those 4 are like gimmies almost. The league's trying to give you wins. The Kings would be up to 44 wins. That would put you tied with the Clippers for 4th spot instead of being in 8th spot where you are right now.
There are probably more we could look at, but we're not going to.
Yeah, there's way more we could say about that, but I'm frustrated at the Wizards' loss.
There are more things. One more thing that I have to say about that. So you know how the Raptors had 17 seconds of a lead?
Uh-huh.
Well, know how long the Kings had a lead against the Wizards for?
Oh, let's say a minute 20.
No, higher. It's
let's say 4 minutes.
Lower. I'm gonna last guess.
3 minutes.
Close enough. 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Wow.
Through a 48-minute game, we could only hold the lead against the worst team in the league.
And the worst defensive team in the league. Not just the worst team. The worst defensive team, and we only scored 102 points. That is... I can't even think of the word. It's
disappointing.
So disappointing. The only good thing I heard about that game, Malik Monk was pissed after that game. He was upset. And I actually like that because like you should not accept this. And he was upset. So that's the only good I saw from that game. Okay,
Is this a wake up call for the Wizards? Not Wizards, Kings.
They've had 10 opportunities to have wake up calls this season. They had a team players only meeting like a couple weeks ago. Like no, it's just I don't think it's. We got 13 games left. Let's go have some fun with those 13. I think it is. Or we have something around that.
You had something to say before?
Okay, so a little stats here. If you want to, let's make some good news here on the Sacramento Kings and how they're doing. So overall, so there's a few things I want to hit on here. So first off, to lead into this, this came out, let's see, I'm looking at an article here on March 15th. So, it's been over a week that this article's been out. And this is an article talks about how the NBA officials got, notice went out to the officials and to the teams back in January, February. And there's a new point of emphasis in the memo that talks about referees and officials, okay? Mm-hmm. The league says the league office outlined an increased officiating focus on offensive players hunting out fouls and veering off pathways to the basket into defenders, and how those point of emphasis have impacted a decrease in overall league scoring. Overall, most teams are down about 4 points per game since this memo have gone out. Like, this is actually like a significant difference in scoring. Now, we had like all-time scoring. Like the Sacramento Kings were like the best offensive rating ever in the league last year. Mm-hmm. And we were like 120. And the Boston Celtics are going to obliterate that this year if it keeps going.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of scoring. But then since this has come out, it's kind of interesting what the Sacramento Kings have done. Offensively, so I'm just going to kind of drawing the line at before All-Star break and after All-Star break. The Kings' offensive rating has stayed the same the whole season, as in like before All-Star break, after All-Star break. It's 116.5 to 116.6, almost identical. Mm-hmm. But we have gone from before the All-Star break, we were 14th in offensive rating. After All-Star break, we're 8th offensively. Mm-hmm. So, not a huge jump, but still six positions is pretty good. But defensively, this is where I want to get to the Kings. They, and this is probably a Mike Brown thing. They actually have improved their defense through the season. For the first half of the season, they were averaging 116.1 defensively, which is 18th, which is why they're about middle of the pack on the playoffs. Like, they're 14th on offense, they're 18th on defense. Like, that's what you get, right? Mm-hmm. And their net rating, that gets you a plus 0.5, and you're 17th in the league at net rating. Mm-hmm. Like, that is middle of the pack as middle of the pack gets. But since the All-Star break, your offense has stayed up while the rest of the league has gone down.
Yeah. And
your defense now is down to 111.6. So that's a difference of it's about 4.5 points. Translates into a net rating of plus 5, which is 7th in the league. Mm-hmm. And defensively, we went from 18th to 11th. If you look at just the month of March, our defensive rating is 108, which is almost 8 points better than before the All-Star break. We're up to 5th defensively in the month of March. The Kings are, which puts us at a net rating of plus 7.8, puts you 4th in the league. Now, I don't know how much can this contribute to Keon Ellis or just overall defensively we're playing better. But if you want some good hope out there, Sacramento Kings fans, for lighting the beam in the playoffs, our defense is improving. Mm-hmm. As long as we don't play stinkers like the Wizards games. But there's your good news.
Okay, so rewinding to last week of the Eastman Sport Report, our predictions.
Yes. Let's do our predictions and how good and bad we did.
So I want to start with mine. I'm technically not wrong yet.
I think you are.
Well, I said 50 as an example.
Well, you said 50. It would stop after 50, and he's at 52 double-doubles.
Okay.
So I think you're wrong.
Okay. I said that Domantas Sabonis wouldn't break Kevin Love's record. Currently, he is one behind.
It's a tie, which he could do tonight against
the Magic,
Orlando Magic.
But I said he's going to stop at 50. Now, I use that as an example.
You're trying to... I can do the same thing on my prediction, but I'm not going to let you do it anyway. Okay. If you want to say you have the spirit of it, but go ahead.
So I'm technically not wrong yet.
Yet. Okay, so my prediction. My prediction was Keon Ellis would start all 4 games. Well, that was wrong because he started 2 games, and that was because of injury. But he did start 2 games, so I got partially right. But then the interesting part is if you want to go down Max's route and say the spirit of what I said. In the New York Knicks game, Keon Ellis played way more minutes. He was in the 30s, and Kevin Huerter was in the teens, 14 minutes. So he played more. Now, he got injured in the Memphis game, so he only played 2 minutes, and of course then Keon Ellis took over his starting role and played the rest of the way out. So in some ways, you could twist it and say the spirit of what I was saying was he would play more than Keon. If I want to go Max's route and say that's the way I'm right, but technically, no, I was wrong, but I was close. But it's fun making these predictions just because, hey, it's good to look back and see if we're right or wrong. So, do you have a prediction for this week, Max?
That's a hard one. I could go the easy route and say Malik Monk's going to have another poster dunk, but that's boring. I'm going to have to...
You want to give mine?
I'll hear yours.
Okay, so Malik Monk, they're playing Orlando tonight. Malik Monk was mad after the Wizards game, which good for him. I think he's going for over 30 tonight.
You know what? That inspired me. I think Malik Monk this week, at some point this week, I don't know exactly what game. Hold on.
So they have 2 games against Dallas, 1 game is Orlando, and then the middle game is against Philly.
Maybe against Philly, or maybe one of the games was against Memphis. I think Dallas. I think that Malik Monk is going to get a new career high.
Ooh. Okay. Which I think his career high is 46, because I think that's what he had against the Clippers last year in that really cool double overtime game. Okay, we'll tune in
45.
next week. It's 45? Okay. So you're saying he's going to get a new record, and I'm going to say he's going to score at least 30 tonight, which is funny that we're both picking on Malik Monk. So, yeah. But okay, we're thinking the same vibes here.
So what's your high for this week?
Yes, my high for the week. That's a great question. My high for the week.
I feel like we might have the same answer. I just have an intuition.
The Toronto game was my high for the week.
Really?
Yes.
My high for the week is more of a sequence.
Okay.
It's the Keon Ellis block, the Malik Monk alley-oop dunk. Is so good.
That is really awesome. That is really good.
Top moment of the season so far for me.
Okay.
So
cool. Okay, as we look to wrap up our Eastman Sport Report, we thank you everybody for joining. I don't know if we could take a poll out there when we do our things here, but maybe we'll tell next week our story of why we're Birmingham Stallions fans. Maybe we'll leave that as a cliffhanger for next week. Turn in next week to find out when the UFL starts up. Why are we Birmingham Stallions fans?